security forces from across the world, and my dear friends, I welcome you all to the third Ministerial Conference on counter-terrorism financing. Friends, it is significant that this conference is happening in India. Our country faced the horrors of terror long before the world took serious note of it. Over the decades, terrorism in different names and forms tried to hurt India. We lost thousands of precious lives, but we have fought terrorism bravely. The delegates have a chance to interact with the country and people who have been firm in tackling terror. We consider that even a single attack is one too many. Even a single life lost is one too many. So, we will not rest till terrorism is uprooted. Friends, this is a very important gathering. It should not be seen as a gathering of ministers only, because it deals with a subject that impacts entire humanity. The long-term impact of terrorism is particularly hard on the poor and on the local economy. Be it tourism or trade. Nobody likes an area that is constantly under threat. And due to this, the livelihoods of people are taken away. It is all the more important that we strike at the root of terror financing. Friends, in today's world, ideally, there should be no need for anyone to remind the world of the dangers of terrorism. However, there are still certain mistaken notions about terrorism in some circles. The intensity of the reaction to different attacks cannot vary based on where it happened. All terrorist attacks deserve equal outrage and action. Further, sometimes there are indirect arguments made in support of terrorism to block action against terrorists. There is no place for an ambiguous approach while dealing with a global threat. It is an attack on humanity, freedom, and civilization. It knows no boundaries. Only a uniform, unified, and zero-tolerance approach can defeat terrorism. Friends, fighting a terrorist and fighting a terrorism are two different things. A terrorist may be neutralized with weapons. Immediate tactical responses to terrorists may be an operational matter, but tactical gains will soon be lost without a larger strategy aimed at hurting their finances. And the Egmont Group are boosting cooperation in preventive detection and prosecution of illegal fund flows. This is helping the war against terror in many ways over the past 2 decades. This also helps in understanding terror funding risks. Friends, now the dynamics of terrorism are changing. Rapidly advancing technology is both a challenge and a solution. New kinds of technology are being used for terror financing and recruitment. Challenges from the darknet, private currencies, and more are emerging. There is a need for a uniform understanding for new finance technologies. It is also important to involve the private sector in these efforts. From a uniform understanding, a unified system of checks and balances and regulations can emerge. But we must be careful about one thing. The answer is not demonize technology. Instead, it is to use technology to track, trace, and tackle terrorism. Friends, today, cooperation is needed, not only in the physical world, but also in the virtual world too. The infrastructure used for cyber terrorism and online radicalization is disturbing. Some also offer weapons training from a remote location and online resources, communications, travel, logistics. There are many links of the chain in different countries. Each country can and must act against the part of the chain within the reach. Friends, many different nations have their own legal principles, procedures, and processes. Sovereign nations have a right to their own systems. However, we must also be careful not to allow extremists to misuse differences between systems. This can be prevented through deeper coordination and understanding between governments. Joint operations, intelligence coordination, and extradition help the fight against terror. It is also important that we jointly address the problem of radicalization and extremism. Anyone who supports radicalization should have no place in any country. Friends, over the last few months, many conferences